Welcome to What's on Your Bookshelf, a life and leadership podcast where we live out loud the pages of the books that are on our shelves, with your hosts, Denise Russo and Sam Powell.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of What's on Your Bookshelf. This is our life and leadership podcast where we're living out loud the pages of the books that are on our bookshelves. I'm really excited to be here today with my friend Sam Powell. My name is Denise Russo. We are in a Marie Kondo book.
All right.
It's called The Joy at Work. So, Sam, looking forward to talking with you about how to be more joyful at work.
Yeah, this is great. I'm so happy we're doing a book of hers because we've talked about the life-changing magic of tidying up at least once once a book.
Yes.
And so this one's really nice. And I like this one because it's it's just focused on work, how to clean up just the work aspect. And I do like that, right? Because we started the year really talking about how to clean up your mental mess, right? That was that book. And like, what does it take to really get yourself in a good space? And so that was heavy and a lot and a lot of work. This one, I think for some people might feel overwhelming, right? For some reason, for some people, cleaning up is overwhelming, but she breaks this down so lovely and so easy. And the fact that it's just work, it's not like, oh, I'm having to clean up my entire house. I'm having to clean up my entire life. It's like, no, let's just talk about your workspace. Let's just talk about, the things that are going there. And, this is just chapter 1 of this book that we're talking about today. And I mean, I've started to do some of this stuff a little bit, and I'm feeling better. It helps that it's like spring now too. But yeah, I'm so happy we're doing this book, and it's a very nice time of year for you and I to be living this one out loud.
I like that you said that. It's springtime, so anybody can use this time to be able to figure out what does tidy look like and what does it mean. And so she starts the chapter by saying a question, and I wonder if it's a question maybe the listeners need to take some time to really think about, which is, what's the first thing that greets you when you get to the office on Monday morning? I know for me that there was a time when I only worked remotely from home. And so my workspace was also my home space. But over the last, I don't know, month, I think, or so, my workspace has also been in an office space. And so I have to say, I am not a fan of working in the office, mainly because it's noisy. But I work in this space right now, Sam, where people take a lot of pride in decorating their little home space.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I thought about this particular chapter, it really got me thinking about how can you create an environment that gives you energy. And you were even just talking before we got on the microphone just about energy and when do we have the most energy. And when we're at work, we can create an environment where we can improve our productivity. She even says here that 90% of people that were surveyed from America felt that clutter had a negative impact in their life, and it lowered their productivity, gave them negative mindsets, reduced their motivation, diminished happiness. So what would it be like if you just looked at your desk and cleaned it up a little bit? What could it do for your energy, for your joy, and your productivity at work?
Yeah, that's it. And I think we often miss how much stress clutter adds to our life, right? Like, and especially in an area you feel like should be, right? If you're really honest with yourself, you feel like should be cleaner, right? Should be tidier, should be whatever. Like, I think about like in my home, my kitchen island. And when that's full of stuff, that and my kitchen table, because we've got like an eat-in kitchen situation, so they're all kind of like one space. And when either of those are covered with things, it just like raises the baseline stress level of my life. And as soon as those are clear, my husband and I talk about it anytime we clear it off. It's like it's just weird how much of a difference that makes. And I think like when we really think about that and we really spend time, like when things are clear and tidy and we've got sort of that space, it creates cognitive space for us to
Mhm.
rest rather than trying to process all the
Yeah.
little things all over the place. And it's funny, and I don't think we realize it in our everyday life as we're living with our clutter and our life and all of our things. But there was a long period of time where I was hybrid in and out of the office. Like I'd work from home some days, work in the office some days, and my space at work was very tidy. Like it was like everything had a space, everything had a, like it was just clean. Versus at home, it was like dealing with home. And
Mhm.
so it it was funny how much more just sort of like I felt when I went into the office. And I had a closed office, which was also helpful too, right? In the, in the open office world. But even when I worked in like the open office space, that my desk was clean and tidy and, everything had its place. And I still always felt a lot more like calm rather than at home where there's a million post-it notes and things and all that sort of stuff.
Well, you think about when you were talking about stress, and the book that we just finished talked about how stress will kill you.
Mhm.
It will kill you. And so if your work environment is stressful, why would you put yourself in a situation where work is any harder than work is? And so
Yeah.
even Marie Kondo talks about that. She says that there was some study at UCLA that was talking about people who were surrounded by too many things, and it increased their cortisol levels, which is the primary stress hormone. But then she goes on to say that if you have high cortisol, and I don't know why, apparently the internet thinks I have high cortisol because on my Facebook and Instagram, all that keeps popping up are all these videos about, do you have high cortisol? We have a miracle drop drug
Of course.
liquid smoothie that you should try, cream. And so Marie Kondo says that if you do have high cortisol, though, you're more susceptible to depression, insomnia, mental disorders, heart disease, hypertension, diabetes. Like all those things should scare us enough
Yeah.
to clean our desk.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's funny, and she talks about like the statistics she went into, which I thought was really interesting, was like the data shows that the search for lost things adds up to an average of 1 work week per year per employee. And it's like you don't really think about it. It's like, oh, I'm looking for something, I'm hunting for something, and you don't think about how many times I do that in a year and how much that really adds up. But it adds up to an entire work week per year. You're spending 40 hours a year just doing that. And it says in the United States alone, this loss of productivity when converted to cash amounts is estimated to be $89 billion just because we're not tidy, just because we're not organized. Like that's crazy to me. Like that number was like, oh my gosh.
So I highlighted that and I said, talk to Sam about this in my margins because it says that this is more than double the combined profit of the world's five largest corporations. So I was like, maybe if people read this book or listen to us talk about this book, or maybe somebody who works at a company says, oh, we need some coaching on this. That's where the opportunity is. But I highlighted that whole area thinking, wow, if we can get this right and help other people get this right, what if you could lower $89 billion worth of waste?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that that's really it. And I see this too, like this. I was working with a client recently, and they really wanted out of their job. Like they're like, I have to get out. It's killing me. Like it's too stressful. I've been trying too many years. Like I need out now. And we were originally working on like, what do you need? Like what next job do you want to do? Right? A little bit slower pace, kind of figuring that out. But it was like, I need out now. This is the top priority. And so then we switched gears a bit. And the first thing always is, okay, well, what's the money situation look like? How much money do you need to survive? And what does that look like, right? Because if you need out now, you can go work in a variety of different spaces. Just you're needing in, like the only goal is income to sustain your life. And then that gives you the space to figure out what's next, right? And we
Mm.
can tell the story and whatever we want to tell the story. And so we were going on that, and I mean, this person is in their 40s, and I started asking questions about the finance part of it, and they couldn't answer the questions. Like it was just, and it's not that they didn't know, it's just that it wasn't organized, it wasn't tidy, and so it was just this really like overwhelming space for them to even figure out, well, what kind of moves could I make? And it was an interesting moment, and I was talking to about the idea with somebody, obviously not with a client situation with somebody, but I was talking about the idea of like, it surprises me how often I talk to people and they don't have a clear picture of their finances, especially like as you get into like, you turn into an adult, like you gotta know this stuff. And it's interesting to me how often people don't have that. And to me, that creates like clutter in your life. Like it's this mental clutter. And when I read this, that's kind of what I thought about was like, all these little tiny lost moments of time, of energy, of space become stress, and it just equate to like real loss of something, right? Like it's a loss of opportunity. Like I can't even leave this job because I don't have myself organized enough to know how long I could last or what I would need to do to just break even plus a little bit, right? To do a couple things that I enjoy. And it was like, it was just surprising to me how much that happens and exists in the world because I think I'm like overly, or I don't think I know that I'm overly organized in a lot of these areas. Like my husband and I have a financial spreadsheet that we have kept for years. We update it annually, and then every year we update it like quarterly almost with like what's all the money, what's the ins and outs, what's our best estimation, what do we need to do? Like on it is our net worth, like down to dollars. Like it's a bit insane. It's a little bit of overkill, but for me, it gives me like peace of mind to
Mhm.
know what's the picture look like, because then, regardless of what happens, we know which way to adjust and, play the game and things like that. And then like, for me, that's given me the space because we have this picture, because we know what's going on, the space to like explore my business, get creative with what I'm doing, because we know that. And and like that's just one of the things that like really weighed on my mind is just reading this part of this book is like, I wonder how often all these little things add up, that it's like this just tiny bits of clutter, this kind of mess in the way of being able to see the picture clearly, keeps us completely stuck or frozen in an environment or in a space that just doesn't serve us.
When I think about what you just said and me knowing you, I know you are extraordinarily competent and smart and organized. And those things seem to be synonymous with being tidy and the things that Marie Kondo is teaching. She even says here that there's a perception from several studies that say that the tidier a person's space, the more likely that other people see that person as
Hmm.
ambitious, intelligent, warm, calm,
Hmm.
confident, friendly, industrious, kind.
Yeah.
So if you think about, have you ever seen like a cartoon where it'll show a person sitting at a desk and then mountains of paperwork
Yeah.
on the desk and how stressed they seem and how they're
Mhm.
never going to get through the unending pile of work versus somebody whose space is clear. Maybe they have a candle on the desk or there's just nothing else on the desk and they're
Yeah.
able to go away. I had a manager once and he, not long ago, he said, I never leave the day with any emails in my inbox. I was like, how can that possibly be? Like, I have 18,000 unread
Yeah.
emails in my inbox. And he said, listen, if it's something that I can't get to while I'm here, it's either going to have to never be on my get to list or I take care of it before I leave for the day. And I thought that
Yeah.
he was on the a little bit of the extreme side. I've never been able to get to zero, but I took a lesson from him that before I do leave my work, whether it is in an office or whether it's at home or whether it's on my computer, that
Yeah.
whatever I'm going to be done with, I'm done with. I don't let it linger and
Yeah.
hang as best as I can. And so she talks about that in this book about how you can rise your performance based on your work setting, or
Yeah.
you can decline your performance based on the expectations somebody has about you,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was really interesting. And it's funny how much of like the research is that she points to different studies and things. And like really, she says she can summarize them in three things, right? That a tidy desk results in higher evaluation of our character and our capacity, meaning other people, like you said, see us as like more competent.
Mhm.
It raises our self-esteem and increases our motivation, right? When you've got kind of that clean slate feeling, you're like, all right, like I can do this, I got this, like things are great. And like I've totally felt that, right? Like clean up a junk drawer and you're like, I could do anything. It's like that kind of a vibe. And then the third thing is as a result, we work harder and our performance improves. And so it's like one of those things that it's like it's tidying up just doesn't seem like a big thing. But really, when you think about it, and you think about those moments when you have tidied, when you have cleaned up, like it's the making your bed book, right? It's like when you
Yeah.
start with those things of like resetting at the end of the day, like your boss instead of cleaning out emails, like it does sort of give you this sense of rest and peace and
Mhm.
like completion to move on to the next thing. Like I'm a post-it
Yeah.
note person, and so like when I come in the next day and my desk is littered with post-it notes from the day before, it's that it immediately pulls me down. Whereas, like, when I
Mhm.
come in and my desk is clear and the only thing waiting for me is the to-do list I made the day before, it's like, all right, we're rocking and rolling today. Like, I know what to
Yeah.
do, I know what to focus on. Like, I always, I always joke that this is like, I think past Sam for things that she did for me. So it's like, how many ways can I thank past Sam tomorrow? By getting stuff in order today, right? Like if I, before I walk away from my desk, clean up my to-do list and my priorities for tomorrow, then when
Yeah.
I sit down, it's like, thanks, past Sam, you did a great job, right? And so now future, like present Sam can get done what she needs to get done. And so it's like, I always think about that as like, what can present Sam do to make future Sam thank past Sam? And it's like, it
Oh,
sort of helps you like, one, live in the moment of right now, but in a way that helps you, I don't know, kind of continually tidy a little bit that I do it all the time. And anytime I do
oh.
something that like makes today easier, I'm like, thanks, past Sam, you got it.
I love that. I'm totally going to adopt that because I think I probably say, darn you, past Denise.
Like, what are you doing?
So, but and Marie Kondo kind of talks about this as well, where she says the most important thing is that you yourself are aware of the kind of environment that brings you joy at work. So, what is your criteria? So, you were saying like, I don't want to have post-it notes on the desk, or I used to work with this guy who I love, and he had every night, if we would have like, I don't know, an ending meeting for the day, he had like a credenza where his desk was in his house and it had a drawer underneath. And we would always tease him because he would shut his laptop and we would be on webcams or whatever. I don't know how we actually saw this happen, but he would put the laptop in the credenza and shut it down. And he told us multiple times on our team, and we're a really close team, and he would say, when work is done, my work is done,
Yeah.
and I put it away. And so then another person was like, oh no, I keep my phone on me at all times. And the dings and the bings happen all night long. And I answer them right then so that way I don't face them tomorrow. And one of the things that he taught us that was so wise was work never stops. And the more you allow work to creep in, whether it's on your phone, whether it's by keeping your computer open, whether it's by answering every ding and bing that comes, you aren't shutting yourself down. And it used to be
Yeah.
years ago for people that did work in offices that you didn't have the ability to take a computer home or a
Right.
phone home because they were, strapped to the desk. So
Uh-huh.
what changed was that we had technology that made us be a 24 by 7 on society. And so if you could have your space be peaceful or start your day in a way that's peaceful for you, she
Yeah.
says there's a good exercise that she actually has in here that you could actually try, which is she says, I even put in the margin, try this. It says, are you honestly feeling positive about working in your space right now? Does working at the desk you're at right now really spark joy for you? And are you sure you're giving full scope to your creativity? And do you really want to come back to this tomorrow? That's what you
Mhm.
just said. You don't want the
Yeah.
post-its on the desk. And so,
Right.
what do you want this space to look like right now? And what do you want it to look like for your future Sam and Denise and
Yeah.
whoever's listening?
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think you're spot on spot on there with, yeah, and it does need to be individualized, right? Because what might work for me is not what works for the next person, right? And my version of clean, it might not be your version of clean, but and the book goes into this later about like really how to tackle that and what to think about and what to consider to make that happen. But, I think it's just this concept of like really look around and appreciate where are things tidy, where are things not tidy, and what is that doing to you? Like, this is like, you got to bring some awareness into your body here. Like, how are you feeling when you see this, when these things happen? And, and she talks, she closes this chapter out with a section that says, like, tidying up helps you find a sense of purpose. And I really hadn't thought about it in that term, right? Of like, finding purpose in cleaning up and in sort of examining the clutter and in examining really like what works for you and what doesn't, and then figuring out how to sort of mesh all that together. But like, it's such an interesting concept, and it's one that I kind of think about because there's that concept of like, who was I when I created this clutter? And who am I now? And who do I want to be? And what kind of an environment, like you said, would make me happy? What kind of a desk would look the best for me, right? What really does that mean? I'm in this program right now, where the guy who runs it puts together workbooks, and they're really helpful. And so I print them because I like the physical act of writing. For me, is helpful to do whatever. Problem is, I now have this stack that's like 4 inches thick of like papers, and it's like, and I'm just accumulating them literally on a pile in my desk of like papers, 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 and it's like, who was I when I was accumulating this? But what does that mean? Like, right? It's that what sense of purpose does this give me to process this, incorporate what I'm learning into the real systems of my business and what I'm running, and then getting rid of the papers, right? Like, and really thinking about what that is. And it's like, you can find a sense of purpose in that, like, instead of just collecting the things and letting them linger, it's that, how do I close? It's your friend who's like, instead of letting all this linger, it's closing it off and moving into this next part of the day of my life. And like, that's that there you can really drive, I think, a bigger sense of purpose out of those types of activities, which is interesting. I like never would have thought of that before reading this.
I think, got moved in this chapter. I want to encourage people to read these chapters because we don't go through everything that is in every part of every chapter. And so I'll just share that the thing that I took away, we didn't really talk about, which is that it isn't just the physical clutter on top of your desk. It's also your emails, which we did talk about a little bit, but it's also your meetings. Like, how many meetings do you get invited to that you really don't need to go to? One year, the kids gave me a coffee cup. I have it here on my desk. It says, well, here's to another meeting that could have been an email. But then you go back to, okay, well, how many emails do I want about something that I didn't need to be CC'd on the forward, the forward, the forward, the forward, RE, 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 RE. And then finally you figure out, like, I didn't even need to know that.
Yep. Yep. And I think that happens to all of us, right? And we think we need stuff, right? Like, we just get caught in the rhythm of how things are happening. And it's like, no, don't need that at all, right? Like, doesn't need to work this way. It doesn't need to happen that way. And again, like, thinking about like you said, right? There was a time where you left the office for the day and there was no way to get a hold of you. Like, there just was no work. It just was whatever, like, happened the next day. And like, in this very interconnected world, it's so easy to get caught up in that rhythm of like, I got to join every meeting. I got to respond to every email. I got to do all this kind of stuff. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? You don't have to choose to participate in that way. You can figure that out. And there's a lot of people that will argue that and be like, well, that's not realistic because of how the world works. And it's like, the world works the way you let it work a lot of times.
According to Marie, we actually talk about it next week. And since we're almost out of time for today, chapter 2 is perfect for you if you're the naysayer. Chapter 2, if you keep falling back to the clutter.
Absolutely.
And it's hard, right? Like, you do have to keep up with it. It's like you get your laundry done at home and then you think, oh, is So nice to have no more laundry. And then somebody throws some new laundry in the pile.
Yep, perpetual dishes, laundry, those
Yes.
little things that happen here and there. Yeah, and I think that that's it, right? Is it's figuring out how to make this. And she closes this chapter, and I highlighted this and started this, but she said the goal of the method shared in this book is not just to have a nice, neat desk, but to begin a dialogue with yourself through tidying, to discover what you value by exploring why you are working in the first place and what kind of work style you want. And so this is really like, and this is why we chose this book, was exactly this, right? Because this isn't just about tidying your desk. This is about having this dialogue with yourself as you do the work, right? It's like what you and I do here of like we read and we have this dialogue with ourselves really about how we implement this stuff into our lives. This book I think is perfect in that. And this one I know we can do as we as we read this book. So I'll be
Yes.
looking forward to this journey with you, and next week for the naysayers and the if you keep falling back people, what that looks like and how to tackle that before we get into the actual like tidying, journey and methodology.
Same. So I'll end by saying that right before that part, which I highlighted that same part you had on the page right before it, she says, work is a precious part of life. While making good use of our skills, wouldn't it make sense to also enjoy our time at work even a little? So I want to encourage you, if you're listening, that maybe you don't like where you're working right now. Maybe you do, but maybe you
Yeah.
don't. Either way, what could make you like it a little bit more? Maybe love
Yeah.
it a little bit more. And
Yeah.
this book maybe gives you just one way to elevate the time that you do have at the blessing you do have if you do have a job. And if you're somebody who has recently been displaced, this is the close, I promise. If you've been displaced and you just don't know what to do next, please contact us. Sam and I are
We can
career
help.
coaches and we can help. And there's lots of ways for you to reach out to us. And if we can't help you, we certainly know coaches, I'm sure, that can. So whether or not you have a desk at a job or a desk in your house while you're looking for one, this topic is really about how do we remove the clutter to create space in our hearts and minds. And if you missed the last series, which is on cleaning up your mental mess, go start there first.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great book. And for those of you who listen to this, check us out on Substack too, because we have video there, which is so fun. You can see our smiling faces as we talk. And there's just some fun stuff in the Substack. So check us out there if you only ever listen, and we will see you next week.
That sounds good. Well, Sam, I always love being with you, and I'm loving learning how to have more joy at work with you. So for this week, my name is Denise Russo, and on behalf of my good friend Sam Powell, this has been another episode of What's on Your Bookshelf.